This is my up since 4 in the morning face. Uh, it's been interesting. Okay, so it's 5:30 now. Anyway, I was trying to go back to sleep and information just kept coming to me and I just thought to ask Anir, what should I do right now? Because I was trying to go back to sleep. I'm trying to not feel dominated by this energy battle that I'm having right now. And I felt like I got a clear from Anir, get out of bed. And I was feeling, I had vertigo for the first time last year. It was pretty awful. And then it was like coming back several weeks ago. And I did everything I could think of to not keep it at bay, but keep it from really happening. And just as I was laying in bed, I was starting to feel that weird thing you get in your head when it's like starting. And I was like, F this. No. So a lot of information was just coming to me, as is normal sometimes for that middle of the night when it's actually quiet. And sorry about the hair. Actually, this is pretty good for me for middle of the night, to be honest. But look, I'm getting a lot of insight in this moment. And, you know, to be perfectly honest, I'm fighting off the, oh my God, I'm being so stupid feeling. Because the truth is, I am learning stuff, and I hope that you are too. And there's got to be some perspective shifts in this for both of us. So, yeah, and I knew I wasn't going to quit because after meeting Scott and getting a sense of the situation, I hope this isn't Omar because I always get words when I'm doing this kind of thing. I always get into it, help intuitively. Yeah. So I was not going to abandon Scott after having some sense that this was like an entity and not just in his head. So I think I'm just going to read a few of the points that came up. By the way, I'm very impressed. My iPhone, the Notes app, which I use all the time, I could whisper into it and it could record my messages. And that's such a great way when you have dreams. I have like a file just for dreams, which I had a weird dream too. But I didn't really use it like that before, so I didn't wake up my husband and I was able to get things off my mind. The problem was that more things kept coming and it just wasn't stopping. So Inir was right. Okay. So one of the things that I noticed was that I couldn't think of Omar's name, but the name Igor was coming to me. And it was weird to blank on Omar's name because we spent a lot of time together. So that was a little bit odd. Anyway, so I got Omar go by Igor infiltrating, and he's smarter than how he's behaving. Uh, Apparently, the notes app doesn't do a great job of recording. Um, yeah. So one thing is that, I am interacting with somebody that for 26 years was taunting somebody that he really believes that he loves. So kind of like, what do I expect? Um, And we could also say he's been in an abusive relationship for 26 years as the perpetrator. And that is a very deeply ingrained behavioral pattern. I mean, if we look at, let's say, if Omar were in a body and walking around and we met somewhere, I mean, we want to look at, I think, everybody in spirit that, they're a being. They're not uh, like imaginary. I don't know how to say it. Sorry, it's early in the morning. Hopefully, you get what I mean. But they're their own being. And if you're questioning, like, why the hell didn't you just try to cross him over? Or maybe with Lisa and Lori, they could have helped clear the energy. Um, and that's true, but that didn't feel like it was really my place. And above everything, I'm really trying to, follow my own intuitive guidance. Uh, anyway, and the relationship between Omar and Scott in some ways was none of my business, and in some ways was because Scott needed help and seemed really open to it. So, anyway. So, one of the things I wrote is I still feel like I'm learning a lot because maybe there's some insight people uh, that have been in this situation for so long you can't have. It's like, you can't diagnose yourself because you can't be objective, or somebody that you're close with because you can't be objective. And I can see how there's this centeredness that I feel like I usually have. That's a lot harder to have now because there's a lot of noise in my head, and the noise is from Omar. So I don't think I'm giving him, I don't know why I feel like I should say this, too much credit for being a separate being because, and I still need to learn this, maybe the type of entity that he is an attachment, and there's just a lecherous nature to it. I just don't, maybe I'm being a sucker and stupid, but I find it hard to genuinely believe that that is all that Omar is like a leech. He has personality, he has feelings, he has some insights. And even if he's, blowing smoke up my ass about what he is and isn't willing to do, that he's even that sophisticated says a lot about him. And I'm not going to discount him. There are times when I feel like, okay, I'm trying to like have one foot in the spiritual world, one foot like on the earth, like grounded into on the earth. I'm not trying to live this overly spiritual life or overly spiritually connected life because while I chose to come here, sorry, um, and I feel a little bit like that same sort of discernment of my reaction is what I need to be mindful of with Omar. Like it's easy to get angry at somebody who's not caring about your feelings or your needs and kind of trampling on them. If this was a different kind of relationship, he would be called a narcissist. And actually, that would kind of suit him. Somebody I'm very close with is detoxing from a relationship with somebody who is, wow, all the negative things you've ever heard about a narcissist and what they do and how they do it, this person has done. And it's, we, this person that I'm close with, and I use the analogy of that former partner being like heroin, like so addicting, so, I want to say alluring. The word came up later. Anyway, so, in the last hour and a half, I was not arguing with Omar, but really getting angry and, practically telling him to F off, but resisting saying it that way because then that's maybe also fueling this negative dynamic is me being angry. And I don't want to do that. I want to stay in that balance, in that balance. Um, and I don't want to feel overtaken. And I had this moment of like, wait, where's my energetic ego and my other spiritual team members? And then I was like, oh, right. Omar's taking up so much space, it's hard to hear anybody else. He's moved aside to do some readings because I've done a few readings in the last couple days. So I'm just thinking about that. So even though he contributed to one, I was able to make space. And I think maybe I have a way to just uh, shift into that like mode to block out my own thoughts and that kind of thing when I'm doing that. But yeah, I really want to liken this to the dynamic of an abusive relationship because in a lot of ways it's that same sort of dynamic. You get isolated from the people that you're close with, and part of that is so you don't get the reality check that what's happening is really effed up, and also you don't get the support you need to make different choices. And that's been a part of this. I mean, I've been sharing with friends, but not in a way of getting support and help, which is kind of a no-no in general. Um, and I want to be careful to not feed his negativity by becoming more negative myself. And that's taking like effort. So I was like, okay, well, I feel like I'm losing discernment, but maybe that's where I'm using my discernment is I don't feel lost from myself in a way. Even when I'm feeling overtaken, I feel aware that I'm feeling overtaken pretty quickly, pretty quickly. So, and look, even me not getting negative about myself because, I've lived there for a very long time, that also feels like it's helping me learn. And that's where my discernment is coming in. So, and I remembered why this feels kind of air quotes normal to me is because I haven't really had anybody do this except one time. And it was when I was pregnant. And this was, I don't know, 18 years ago, something like that. But as soon as I must have gotten pregnant, there was a voice in my head. It was a girl, young girl. She didn't like introduce herself. I just started hearing her. I don't even know what she would say necessarily, but I knew I was pregnant because she joined me and she was present kind of all the time. And it was awesome. Not because I was so lonely, although maybe that might have been something, but that it was her and we were bonding. And I remember, you know, not to get all wrapped up in it, I did talk about this quite a bit, actually, I think, in the episode I did about miscarriages and abortions and rain checks. So we came to call her Sarah, and she, the tissues came out of me, so I had the miscarriage while I was in this intuitive weekend seminar, which was the best timing possible because I got a lot of support right then and there. I wasn't really able to do mediumship at that time at all. I mean, I could check in about things the way you see me check in and get yes and no answers, but that would have been about the extent of it probably at that time. But I was doing this workshop with somebody who really could do a lot of mediumship, and she really channeled the energy of Sarah for us to be able to talk to, and it was so helpful. It was so helpful. Um, and kind of right before she left me, or whatever you would call that, I remember her saying that some of the few moments I remember is her telling me to dance with her dad, and it was sweet how she was, you know, it was weird because I was like, you don't need to help us. Thank you. But she had these nice suggestions, and there was a good energy about all of it. And it was very sweet in a lot of ways. And I was sad when she left because it meant I wasn't pregnant, not because I wanted somebody in my head all the time. And I can only imagine how seductive it is to be afraid to be alone after being accompanied for a long time. So, this may be the thing of why, when I proposed to Scott, not that I propose to remove Ohmar, but he's pretty clear he doesn't want that. He just wants a better relationship with him. And duh, I mean, if you live most of your life having somebody with you in your own head, that would be, yeah, that would be a big withdrawal to make is to not have them in there with you. So, and I also realized I don't want Ohmar to win, like the battle of who's going to live in my head, him and me or just me. And I don't want him to lose because this is also somebody, if we're going to look at it as if he's a person with a very fragile ego, because he doesn't have that real sense of himself. Not really. So, um, yeah. And that could also be why having healthy boundaries when you don't want that is such a battle. Also, I noticed that when I was first connecting with him, like when I first kind of saw him in the room when I was here with Scott, I was only getting, it was all in my claircognizance, so my knowing. So I wasn't seeing him, I wasn't hearing things from him. It was all just like in my head. Now, claircognizance is can feel pretty tricky because when you see something, you're like, I know what I saw, I know what I saw. But when it just comes to your head, it just flows in. And so, anyway, but then I noticed a couple of days ago, so about 3 days ago or so, and I did record this where he and I were connecting with some positive energy and healing energy, and I saw this visual sense of him, an outline of him as a man. That was the first actual visual that I got from him. And I've been getting some songs in the last few days since then. So he's, sort of stepping, I'm seeing somebody like walking into more of these senses of mine. Um, yeah, and I'm seeing that like creepy-ish hand, which I'm like, screw this. And I don't want to say screw you to Omar. You don't want to piss off somebody who has anger issues, first of all. Um, but I also don't want to feed into that energy suck cycle of generating that kind of negative energy myself. Like if I'm not getting it from him, but he's like poking at me and now I'm going to generate it and feed it back to him, that just seems all kinds of unhealthy. So I want to be able to separate without having to be angry about it. It's a big life lesson for me in other relationships as well. So it's not just with him. He's helping me learn some of these things even more, though. And then there's like, look, this is mine. This is my territory, my head, my energy body. And nobody's invited or even really welcomed to come in and like pretend they can take over. And it feels, I know, if I'm being really honest, a part of me expected that I might get a bit taken over by all of this, that I don't have the absolute resolve of some of the people I talk to when I've been doing this kind of um, marinating in all of this. There are a few people I know that have schizophrenia in their family, which will be also on the podcast, who have this like iron will about like, F that. This is not happening to me. And they set up some real barriers in their energy field and in their mind to not be penetrated in this kind of way. But I didn't have that. And that's one of the things I need to develop for myself. And one of the things I'm recommending. All of this that I'm experiencing is for both of us to learn. So there's a lesson in that, maybe for you as well. Maybe not. Maybe you're an ironclad person. And if you are, good for you, because this situation will likely not be something you'll find yourself in, but you'll see. And yeah, seeing myself more as the driver, I think I saw my time with Omar, and I'm not giving up on that relationship. There's still a lot of work that I think could be done in a really helpful way. But I guess I saw us in like this commuter, I experienced it more like we're in this commuter van together, and it's a somewhat democratic environment. But then as this came to me, and I'm seeing that visual again, which I'm not appreciating, and then he shows me a visual. Now he's showing me a visual of him with a demon, I'm going to say outfit on because I don't think that's who he actually is, but he has control over how he presents himself, as we talked about recently. And so I'm seeing this demon looking version of him driving this like very fast sports car, and I'm in the passenger seat, and he's just driving, like the word kept coming to me when I was in bed, maniacally, maniacally. And yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. So, and I'm not going to get freaked out by however he's showing himself. But man, this is a lot. This is a lot. So I need to listen better to others and be clear between Omar and myself that there needs to stay a line there. I did ask Archangel Michael to come in. I was asking, I mean, I had an hour and a half in bed just sitting with all of this information coming, me trying to set boundaries, information coming, me starting to ask for some real help. So I usually ask Archangel Michael to come in and help remove any energies or entities or cords. And I was asking him this morning. So I have a lot to learn. I really jumped into the deep end on this. Um, it's okay. It is a good way to learn the hard way, but also experientially, because you don't forget that as easily. And when Scott was first going to come over, I had this, what seemed like an irrational thought of, I hope it's about schizophrenia. I hope it's not contagious. It's a weird thought. You don't think that about a mental health disorder normally. I don't, but I did. And now I can see why. um, and the suspicion that it was an energy or entity or, and it wasn't just all in his head was why I thought that. And not that I think schizophrenia is contagious, but I can see that when you're open to it and you don't have all the boundaries to keep it from happening, that it may just be that you become part of the, getting the word posse, of this energy or entity. Anyway, okay. I'm getting that there's nothing else. All right. Well, that felt worth sharing. I also wanted to get it off my chest and have it be part of this because this has been an interesting journey, and I hope you're getting as much out of this as I am. Okay.